Aloha, everyone. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining us today. Today, we're going to just start with the call to order. So today is Friday, February 21st. The time is 9:03. The Endangered Species Recovery Committee public meeting is called to order. Just to get through introductions real quick. My name is Jason Omick, the Wildlife Program Manager with the Division of Forestry and Wildlife. And I will be today's ESRC public meeting chair. Committee members, please introduce yourselves and state if anyone is present in the room with you. And please remember to leave your camera on during the ESRC discussion. Yeah. We can go on. Yeah, is this turning my video on? Okay, yeah, that works a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and let our staff introduce themselves first, and then we'll move on to the ESRC committee members. And we'll start with Kingsley.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Kinsley McEachern. I'm a DOFA HCP Program Associate.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kelly Yamaguchi. I am also a Division of Forestry and Wildlife Program Associate, HCP Associate.
Morning, everyone. I'm Jesse Adams, the newest DOFA HCP Associate.
Go ahead to the ESRC members. I'll just go in the order of people I see on my screen here. We'll start with Melissa.
Hi, I'm Melissa Price. I'm here on behalf of UH, and I don't have anyone in the room with me. Michelle, you want to go next?
Aloha and good morning, everyone. I'm Michelle.
So sorry, Michelle. We accidentally
That's
hit
okay.
mute on you. I apologize. Please go
That's
again.
all right. Morning, everyone. I'm Michelle Bogardus, representing U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I do not have anyone in the room with me at the moment, but I do periodically have Fish and Wildlife Service biologists coming in and out. If they do enter the room, I will let everyone know.
Well, Kaviko Winter, sitting in the Native Hawaiian seat. I have nobody in the room with me.
Morning, I'm Karen Corto representing USGS, and I do not have anyone in the room with me.
Aloha, I'm Lisa Spain. I'm a member at large, and I don't have anybody in the room with me.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Young, also member at large, and I don't have anyone in the room with me either.
One second. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll move to the other folks that are online with us. If you guys can just go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
I'm Jackie Swenson. I'm Deputy Attorney General. I'm your guys' ESRC's legal counsel for today. So if you go into executive session, we can talk then. Thanks.
We can move on to the other folks. Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Bale. I'm the attorney for Pulama Lānaʻi, and will only be speaking today if legal issues come up.
Thank you, Lisa. We have Rachel from Pulama Lānaʻi.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm Rachel Sprague from Pulama Lānaʻi.
I think we have John on also, if you want to introduce yourself.
Good morning. Apologies, my camera doesn't seem to be working. Yes, my name is John Sprague, and I am also with Pulama Lānaʻi. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Looks like we got some DOFA folks. Will?
Yeah, hi, my name is Will Haynes. I am research entomologist with DOFA Hawaii Invertebrate Program.
Thank you, Will. We'll move on to Janice.
Hi, Janice Matsunaga, DOFA entomologist.
Thank you, Janice. Diane.
Aloha, I'm with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and a biologist on the project.
All right. I thank you, Diane. I think we covered everyone, so we'll continue moving forward. So we're going to move on to the next item here. We have one item on the agenda today, which is to review the safe harbor agreement for the introduction of the endangered orange-black damselfly to a conservation area on the Lānaʻi. Following a brief presentation by the applicant, Lānaʻi, we'll open the floor for with the applicant Lānaʻi. We'll open the floor after that for public comments, followed by ESRC comments and discussion. The ESRC will then vote to make a recommendation to the Board of Land and Natural Resources to approve, amend, or reject the safe harbor agreement. With that said, we can move forward with the presentation from Lānaʻi, and I'll leave the mic open to Rachel, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Jason. We don't have a large formal presentation. I just wanted to, first of all, thank the ESRC for taking the time to talk with us at the meeting a couple months ago. There were a lot of really good questions and a lot of really good discussion. And then for taking the time to come over to visit Lānaʻi and spend some time with our staff and see the site. I also want to thank the DLNR and Fish and Wildlife Service staff who've worked with us on this project for the last couple years, as well as Lisa, who really helped clarify a lot of things. I wanted to note that in response to the discussions and the questions before, the requested modifications were made to the draft that you should have. So that includes making sure that there was language around adaptive management and success criteria, and working with the Molokaʻi working group and the agencies if we needed to go that route, as well as language that was added to prohibit feeding of feral cats around the conservation area specifically. And there's also was language added to encourage the Molokaʻi working group to consider maximizing genetic diversity of the translocated Molokaʻi xanthomelis that were going to be moved to increase the likelihood of their survival and to sort of meet overall species recovery goals, because this is an opportunity to move them into an area where they were historically but are not now. And so there's the chance to make sure that we're thinking about what the species needs and how to best improve resilience and maximize likelihood of the species. I mean, that summarizes the main changes that were made. I'm happy to let John add anything else if he would like. Otherwise, we're happy to have any further discussion or answer any additional questions the ESRC or staff may have.
I have nothing additional to add. Thank you.
Well, I'll ask a question. Thank you. So I'm glad to hear that you folks are considering or have considered our comments about increasing genetic diversity instead of increasing genetic bottlenecking. I was trying to find in the document where you discussed about that. I did a word search for genetic diversity. I came up on one hit, but that doesn't quite look like the section that you were just referring to. So if you could point us to that in the document so I could take a look before I vote. But also, I guess I was curious about what the working groups or the outcomes of the working groups discussion on this topic were. We get an update on that, please.
So the language that was added around using a genetically diverse damselfly propagules was added to Appendix A, Part 5, which is where it goes into that on, sorry, I'm scrolling for the page. Appendix A. It should be on page 6 of 8 of the appendix, which is page 55 of the overall agreement. It says, the source will be determined in consultation with DLNR, the service, and the Magalai Green Working Group. DLNR will make an effort to use genetically diverse propagules from multiple populations deemed appropriate based on previous population genetic studies.
Okay, thank you. So maybe if we could get some clarification on what the appropriate genetic pools the working group has discussed.
Yeah, so the last working group meeting was actually in October, so we haven't met, you know, after the ESRC meeting. But we have had a couple of meetings involving different members of the working group. And we've discussed this, and the agreement was to first concentrate on sources from Maui Nui in general, and Oʻahu as well, because those are the most imperiled populations due to habitat loss on those islands. The Hawaii island populations are doing comparatively better, and those are more genetically distant from the historic Lānaʻi populations. And so I think the agreement was to start out sampling from multiple locations on Molokaʻi, and then using Oʻahu genetics as well, which are probably the most severely bottlenecked population would be Oʻahu, but you know, of course, that wouldn't be the sole population used, and then sourcing from Maui as well. But yeah,
Okay.
concentrating first on Molokaʻi, just because we do have good data from, you know, previous sampling on Lānaʻi. We have pretty good genetic data comparing the different islands, and so the haplotypes that were previously present on Lānaʻi were represented on Maui, Molokaʻi, and Oʻahu. And so those seemed like the logical places to start. And then, you know, if we are not successful, or if those populations blank out, which is always possible, we would source from other islands.
Okay, no, that's great to hear. Thank you. I was concerned that well-intentioned this initiative was going to further exacerbate genetic bottlenecking. So I'm glad to hear you folks are trying to intentionally prevent that from happening. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Just had a question on predator control, since it's going to be an ungulate fence surrounding it. Is predator control happening year round, or is that going to be sporadic based on the needs of the covered species?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have a larger cat trapping grid that extends around Lānaʻi and in some pretty large trap lines around the Damselfly area. And we'd be adding some additional traps around the Damselfly area. Those we do run year round. They get closed for like 2 weeks around Christmas because we just don't have anyone to check them. We use that as an opportunity to refresh all the traps, but that's when the Hawaiian petrels are not around. But that also tends to be around the time of year when the stilts and coots are definitely not nesting. And again, we're not sure that they will nest in this area. And there is the potential, we're looking into the potential in the future to put a predator-proof fence or predator exclusion fence around this area, but that's not part of the safe harbor agreement itself. And the rat traps would also be, sorry, the rodent control would also be done year round. We use automatic lure pumps in A24s that we rebate essentially twice a year because they run for about 6 months. And so this will be an accessible spot, so we'll be able to check them and make sure that they're in operation pretty much continuously.
Thank you.
Since you're waiting for comment, I'll just note that I had most of my questions, or all of the questions that I can think of at the moment, answered during the site visit, and so I don't have follow-up questions today, although some may be sparked by other people's questions. I think, Michelle, your hand was up next.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for taking into account the comments that you received through ESRC and through the agencies. Appreciate seeing those textual edits in the document. I know that we received one comment through the Fish and Wildlife Service public comment period, but I just wanted to check with DOFA staff. I didn't hear whether or not there were any public comments submitted on the state public comment period. It might be good for the ESRC members to hear if there were and what those were.
Thank you, Michelle. Just to remind, there were no comments that we received during the public comment period, but we did during our public hearing on Lānaʻi. After our ESRC and public site visit, we did do a presentation and we received one comment during the meeting and via Zoom. And we can pull that up to get the exact quote, but it was, to paraphrase it, it was something along the lines of, "We're glad to see that these damselflies are being reintroduced to the island." But that is also recorded in the master's report on public hearing, and that is part of our meeting materials. So her exact verbiage is recorded there. So if you'd like, I can take a minute and just pull up.
That's plenty, Kinsley. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, I also want to thank you. Thanks for addressing the previous ESRC comments in written way in the revised document. I wanted to ask a question, and I'm not sure if this is to the agencies or to Pulama Lānaʻi, but I think in here it describes this as a step towards a self-sustaining population. And I guess, what is the definition of self-sustaining population? Because I mean, this is I guess this isn't to voice a concern about the project, but it seems like the way that this is being done is not creating a self-sustaining population, since there's so much dependence on people to continue maintaining the water supply and its artificial habitat. And so I'm just wondering how that's being defined and if that's the correct characterization of this project.
I'm gonna let Will talk. I think just as Will's maybe turning his microphone on, I think a lot of the locations where megalith liger and xanthomelas exist now require some amount of human intervention to manage the water itself. And I think I was thinking of that as more of that the population itself is not requiring continued releases to maintain numbers, but I'll let Will maybe clarify a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that was, I agree. I think that was the meaning of that, is that the population itself would persist without additional reintroductions. Yeah, there will continue to need to be, probably vegetation control and maintaining the fences and everything, but yeah, the population itself should be self-sustaining. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's like specific to the breeding potential of the species. Okay.
I guess if we covered the questions from the committee, we will turn.
Wait, sorry, I got one more.
Go ahead.
Real quick, just a clarification, mostly for the staff, but since we don't have many safe harbor agreements, I can't quite remember, but I think the safe harbor agreements also do annual reports. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes, you're correct.
Okay, so could I formally request that in the annual reports that we get reports on that it includes information on which gene pools or how that thing that was in the appendix A that Rachel pointed out, how that is being fulfilled? I'm not sure how to that could actually happen, but I'll just make that request now. Thank you.
Thank you, Kavika. Anyone else before we move to the public comments, if there's any? Okay, we're gonna check Zoom, YouTube, and our mail program to see if we have anything there from the public.
Nothing in our HCP email account. I guess check the Zoom.
No comments on YouTube.
And then do any members of the public, it doesn't look like we have any members of the public on Zoom. So it looks like we have no comments on Zoom.
Right, so no comments on Zoom, so we're going to move forward with, we kind of had comments from ESRC, but are there any comment from members of the ESRC discussion or recommendations other than what was just shared earlier?
I guess I would just say a general thank you to Pulama Lānaʻi for engaging in proactive conservation actions and supporting safe harbor, the use of safe harbor agreements to support species recovery. That is something that we certainly love to see and are very grateful to private landowners for engaging in species recovery in this way.
I echo those comments. Thank you for being so responsive. And thank you to the working group for seeing this over the line.
This time we can, the ESRC can make a motion.
But before we do a motion, I just want to, for my previous comment, and this is not for the project specifically, but just a process thing. When ESRC members request certain things in the annual reports, how does that translate into actual guidance? I ask because this has come up before when we've requested certain kinds of content or presentation format in annual reports, and because of staff turnover or miscommunications, we don't actually see those, and it gets to be pretty frustrating for the members who are trying to understand what's going on. So yeah, I guess that's my question. What is the process for getting from a request in the format of an annual report into actual guidance about what that annual report looks like? And if we need to talk about this in executive session, I can make a motion for that too.
I was just going to respond on behalf of the HCP team. We, as of last year, I think maybe even prior to that, started recording your recommendations on our PowerPoint slides. So I'm happy to write these recommendations out from the meeting in a PowerPoint slide right now, just to show everyone. But we do have from like last annual review, those general recommendations and then licensee specific recommendations. So similar to that, we have those recorded and we are working to try to tackle those and give you updates on those recommendations when we return to the annual review this year. So I don't know if it'd be helpful for us to pull up a slide and just record these recommendations so that we have them in our kind of written records on the HCP side.
Yeah, I have faith that they're recorded accurately. I don't need to see them. I guess my question more is how, once they're recorded and documented, how do those get communicated to the permittees such that they actually follow them? what is the process for communicating that to the permittees?
So for the annual review upcoming, we sent those recommendations to the licensees to let them know. And I believe either after the annual review, we did that, and then again, we did it most recently. I could be wrong if we did it most recently. I'm trying to recall, but we did give them the recommendations. And then in terms of the HCP program recommendations, we are addressing those internally. So after the meetings, that's kind of been our go-to with this new process, is trying to take those recommendations that are on the PowerPoint and email them directly to the licensee.
And Kavika and perhaps Dofa, maybe one way that this could be very evident is in the submittal, the staff submittal to ESRC, that these recommendations are reflected in that staff submittal and how they've been addressed in the final or in the yearly reports. Then that would be helpful for us to see, you know, that the staff, okay, this was a recommendation as part of approval. Here is how it's been addressed in the report. And then it becomes very obvious to us as ESRC members in that submittal. Like the one today was, well done. Thank you.
That's great, Lisa. And that's actually, we will have that for you on the March 6th and 7th. We've already incorporated that into our submittals, showing those recommendations from fiscal year 2023 that you all made and whether the licensee achieved them or did not. So sorry, that actually is exactly what we incorporated. And the submittals that you'll see for the annual report should be live next week. So you'll be able to see that reflected. But we can make note right now to do that regarding this SHA as well.
Okay, and I know this is like agenda creep, but I'll just say it. We, for the annual reports, we used to get a staff overview of the status of the species so that we could make judgments and understand the big picture and not just do one-off things without understanding the impact of the whole endangered species population. So if possible, I'm hoping that can happen again, or if you folks are already planning to do that, that would be really helpful for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kavika.
All right, so at this time, the ESRC may make motions. A member of the committee will make a motion. For example, I would like to make a motion to recommend the board approve the safe harbor agreement. Another member of the committee will need to second the motion.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. We'll now take a vote. For all those in favor, say aye and raise your hands. For all those opposed, say nay and raise your hands.
Aye.
Which one is it? It's the support,
sorry.
right?
I'm sorry. I'm new to this. It's been a little. We'll start with the A.
Aye.
Yes. Michelle, would you mind? We couldn't see if your hand. Oh, there it is. Thank you. That looks like all.
Okay. And all those opposed, say nay and raise your hands. So how many?
So we had 7 members. You want to say that?
So we have 7 members. Thank you for the motions.
Who voted yes?
So 7 members voted yes and 0 no's. As a result of this vote, the ESRC, from the ESRC, the safe harbor agreement will be taken to the board on March 28th. And with that, we're to item 3. So we'd like to get a motion to adjourn the meeting. And do we have?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Thank you, guys. So we have the motion to pass. All right, everyone, 7, and the time is now 9:31 a.m. What?
We'll vote too.
Oh, and sorry. Yep, we'll vote for that.
Aye.
Aye.
Everyone.
Thank you, ESRC committee members, for bearing with me. I will get better at this. Thank you, Lisa, everyone. So we got the motion to pass is 7, and the time is now 9:32. We're gonna just move that. The ESRC public meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Mahalo nui for a very efficient meeting.
Thank
And
you,
a
guys.
good one, a
It's
good
great to see
news
everyone.
one.
Thank you, everyone.
Fastest ESRC ever.
Aloha Friday, everyone.
Have a good Friday.
Happy Aloha Friday.
Ahoy,
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, Rachel and John.
Thank you.
And Dofa and Bert team.
Thank you.
Thank you, ESRC. Aloha.